Amateur Traveler is in its 20th year now, but can you imagine if I had people on the show who had never been to the destination, but had just read about it or seen a movie about it? That wouldn't make any sense at all, and you wouldn't listen. We all know how important it is to receive advice from people who know a destination to get the most authentic local experience. And a great option for experiencing this is Explore Worldwide and their authentic small group adventures, led by local tour leaders, perfect for solo travelers who want to meet like minded people with a desire for adventure. I'm often an independent traveler, but two of my last three trips were with small group tours because they organize everything and it's a lot easier. If you want to recreate the tour I did to Malta, they have a Malta and Gozo Discovery Tour. I'm intrigued by one of their tours called A Taste of Sicily. The company again is Explore Worldwide, and visit exploreworldwide.com to learn more. And thanks to Explore Worldwide for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. The nights are long, the days are short, and the weather is chilly to downright cold, depending on where you are. It's a good time to slip into a Quince iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at only $50. You can treat yourself to everyday luxury at an affordable price with Quince. If you really want to dive into luxury, you can check out their leather handbags, washable silk shirts, and European linen sheet sets. Whatever you're looking for at Quince, all the prices are 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and they do that by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the middleman. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing processes. And of course, they use premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece. But you've already heard me rave about my Quince travel pants. Treat yourself this winter without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/traveler for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
I got my bags packed, I'm on a roll. I'm heading out there and I'm ready to go. Looking real good in my passport photo. Oh, no.
Amateur Traveler, episode 398. Today, the Amateur Traveler talks about historic towns, canoeing beautiful waterways, and miles of beaches as we go to New Jersey.
One more cafe. I know that I should be heading home, but maybe not today.
Welcome to the Amateur Traveler. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. Before we get into this week's interview, I do have three news stories for you. The first one is a disturbing story about U.S. border crossing. There was a Canadian woman who was turned away from the U.S. because of a history of mental illness that she has had. She's had some severe bouts with depression, is actually a paraplegic after an unsuccessful attempt to commit suicide. But the big question that raises is, how did they know? How did they get access to her medical records? And that's not yet clear. The second story is also a little bit disturbing. In South Africa, there's a luxury hotel and spa that has offered visits to a shantytown, but knowing that those shantytowns are filled with poor people and poverty, they have built a fake shantytown so that people can have a more clean slum tourism experience. I don't know what to say. American Airlines is doing something different. If you want an upgrade on their upcoming flights, they're turning it into an auction. Basically, you can get your upgrade if you bid more than someone else does. What do you think? Good idea or bad? For links to all three of those stories, check out the show notes at amateurtraveler.com. I'd like to welcome back to the show Lisa Luben from llworldtour.com. And Lisa has come to talk to us about her home state of New Jersey. Lisa, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Chris.
And I say welcome back for those of you who are not longtime listeners. It's been a while since we've had you on, Lisa. And you talked last time about working your way around the world, finding jobs in all sorts of different places. So that was one of our more unusual episodes.
Yeah, it was fun.
And even 3 Emmys doesn't necessarily help you find a job in Turkey, as I recall, if you don't speak Turkish. So people might want to check out that episode. But today we're going to talk about New Jersey.
Woo-woo!
And you grew up in New Jersey, and I've lived long enough in New York that I have to ask, as a New Yorker, you would be asked, you grew up in New Jersey, what exit?
I don't have a good answer for that because, and it kind of makes sense to me, I didn't grow up near any exit. I'm not near the Turnpike. I'm not near the Garden State Parkway. So that will continue into my defense and battle about my home state and why it's beautiful and it's not always off of an exit.
And I lived just over the border, but worked in New Jersey for 8 months. So I will back you up that New Jersey is a beautiful state, except for a few parts. But unfortunately, those parts are fairly well known, like Newark and Elizabeth and some of the industrial parts.
Right.
I suspect we're not going to be talking as much about them. So where should we go if we go to New Jersey?
Well, first of all, so I grew up there, lived there for 20 years, and I've actually moved away. And now I kind of split my time and I go back and forth and spend a lot of time there. I think, as a lot of people know, New Jersey gets a bad rap. It's sort of this outlying area of New York, sort of between New York and Philly. So it's not known for its cities, except for, like you said, the industry and parts near the river and near New York where there was industry. It kind of started, actually, the Industrial Revolution. But the western and middle parts, like the northwestern and sort of anywhere that's sort of not near the two big cities, is actually really beautiful. In general, New Jersey has mountains and lakes and beaches and forests. And one of my favorite things is the colonial feel. It's one of the original colonies. Obviously, it has a lot of history. So there's many towns that I think are really beautiful that have these 17th century, 18th century main streets. But I also think it's a very outdoorsy state, which a lot of people might not realize. There's the Appalachian Mountains run right through the western part of New Jersey. So there's hiking and kayaking and camping. There's even ballooning. There's all kinds of outdoorsy stuff to do as well.
Excellent. So let's make a 1 to 2 week itinerary for the state that's going to see the best parts. Where would we start?
The one thing that's tough about New Jersey is, and I don't know how many states you've done on your show, Chris, that it's a state. It's not a big state, but it's still not so simple to just
see all of New Jersey all in one weekend or something. Yes.
It's one of the smallest states, but it's also one of the most populous, which is interesting just because it's between these cities. But like I said, there's parts of it that I would bring friends to visit, and they were surprised at how rural it was where I'm from. There's some of my favorite towns is what I would suggest. These towns that are beautiful, that have things to do and see. Number one would be Princeton. Mm-hmm. Princeton, New Jersey's gorgeous. You have the campus there, obviously the university, and then you have all these great restaurants, boutiques, shops. Obviously, because of the university, it has academics and people from all over the world. It's very diverse, but it's also very historical. And just, to me, is like the main feeling I love about New Jersey is sort of quintessential in Princeton.
And when you say historical, for instance, and we're going to talk about Washington slept here at least once when we talk about New Jersey, this is the site of one of Washington's big victories.
Probably.
Let's take that as a statement. This was the site of Washington's victories after he crossed the Delaware. He fought two big battles way back in the Revolutionary War, and one was a victory at Princeton.
Was it the Battle of Princeton?
It was the Battle of Princeton.
There you go.
There you go. You catch on very quickly, Lisa.
And also Albert Einstein. I think he taught at Princeton. There's a statue of him hanging out there. Another favorite town is also far west. It's actually on the border between New Jersey and Pennsylvania. It's called Lambertville. So it's right on the Delaware River. Also, Main Street, great little restaurants, inns, sort of B&B type places. And the best thing about it is it's right on the Delaware River. And then right next to the river, you have the Delaware and Raritan Canal and a towpath, which you can bike on or walk on or jog on. And it goes basically from like Trenton down south through Lambertville and north up further in New Jersey. So it goes for miles, and it's beautiful, very wooded, hilly. What I kind of think of New Jersey from where I grew up is sort of very woodsy, hilly, curvy country roads. In fact, I say to people, actually think of New England in a way, because that's what the sort of western parts of New Jersey look like. And this part along the canal is really beautiful.
Now, would that also be a good kickoff spot? You mentioned canoeing for the Delaware Water Gap.
Well, this is sort of south of there. There are some companies all along there in different parts that rent canoes or kayaks or even tubing. Actually, not far from, I think, Lambertville. There's a tubing in the summer some crazy guy rents out tubes. He even has like some crazy hot dog stand in the middle of the river, something bizarre that I haven't done yet, but I have heard about it, where then halfway down you can like stop and get a dog, which is very East Coast, of course. But then another place like sort of the outdoorsy stuff, the Delaware Water Gap, that whole area is beautiful. If you look at a map, that whole sort of northwest angled straight line of New Jersey is all forests. It's all national parks and forests. Delaware Water Gap, Stoke State Forest, a couple others through there, camping, canoeing, kayaking. There's all kinds of beautiful stuff to do. And that's sort of the edge of the Appalachians right in there. And the Appalachian Trail runs right through there on that western border of New Jersey.
Excellent. Where to next?
And a couple other beautiful places. So Cape May. So this is almost like another world to me, because I grew up in North Jersey. Cape May is our very southern tip of New Jersey. And Cape May, it's the only entire city that's a national landmark in the United States. So the whole city of Cape May, because of all these Victorian homes, it's been declared a national landmark, just the whole of it, which is it's beautiful. All these sort of gingerbready Victorian homes, painted really pretty colors. And it's a beach town. So it's kind of a really great place to go, because you can go to the beach and you can also just browse around the town. And there is not far from Atlantic City. Now, Atlantic City is actually not something I recommend, but that's more subjective. It's not something I would do. It has huge casinos and huge hotels, and you're on the beach along there. That's sort of also South Jersey. A lot of Philly people would easily drive right across the state to go to Atlantic City. So that's sort of completely flip of Cape May.
Well, I don't know if you know, is the tourism in Atlantic City on the rise because of the HBO show about some of the history of that area?
I don't know. That's actually a really good question. I know it has had, in general, a resurgence. They were redoing a lot. There was money put into it. I'm not sure how much of any damage down there from Hurricane Sandy. And that's another thing, though. The whole shore is sort of, some of it was fine. A lot of it's being rebuilt. New Jersey's very tough, so they're coming back strong and building all of that.
And I thought most of that was further north, most of the damage that I heard of, at least.
Yeah, I think the worst, definitely. And the shore is beautiful. But yes, there's parts that are way built up, very sort of like Seaside Heights, very touristy. But then there's other parts along Beach Island, Island Beach State Park, that are serene and beautiful. A regular sort of shore town that I like to go to is Long Branch. And that's sort of near the north. It has its own boardwalk. It has a lot of nice new restaurants. It's kind of a easy, not too big place to kind of be able to stroll and see some different restaurants, but also spend the day at the beach. So, of course, that whole eastern seaboard part of New Jersey below the city area is all beaches up and down until basically Cape May. So we have like all beaches on that side, and then a river on the west side, and then mountains on the northwest side.
And before we leave the Jersey Shore, I think that there are some truths and there are some misperceptions about the Jersey Shore. Now, I have spent a vacation at the Jersey Shore, and I was way up in the northern part where most of the people who were there were from New York. And I swear that everybody in the hotel pool's name was Vinny, and they all wore gold chains. I'm guessing Cape May, we're talking about a very different type of beach town.
Yeah, and a lot of towns, and you just have to do your research. A lot are known as family destinations, and just north of Cape May is Sea Isle City. I'd gone there once with a friend in high school, and that was very pretty. But just north of that is Wildwood, and that was more known as like more commercial, more games and random bars and stuff. Kind of like Seaside Heights is sort of the Wildwood of the north. It was kind of, I don't know, where did you stay?
That's actually where it was, Seaside Heights.
Yeah,
exactly.
that was where we went in high school. It was kind of the fun and action and scene, and now I would never go there.
and I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying it had a particular ambiance to it.
Yeah, it's a little of a party atmosphere usually.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for that, it's great. It's fun. And there's a lot of towns like college kids from Rutgers or wherever, Montclair, they'll go to the shore, and there's some of the northern towns. But it's definitely sprinkled in, because then you'll drive through one that's all these rich mansions. Then you keep going and you get to another one that's sort of quiet and it's just homes. So it's kind of an interesting... There's one called Deal, and I think it's majority are Orthodox Jews, like this one section. It's big homes, and it's fascinating, really. It's great to bike over there and also just even drive if you have time, like sort of just drive through some of them and just because they're all pretty unique and different.
Well, and I think it has a longer shore than some people realize in terms of the Jersey Shore is not, as we say, one place, but a variety of places.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, that whole eastern seaboard. And even though New Jersey's small, the shore is a large length of much of the state. At least the middle to southern part of the state is all on the coast. And I think one of the most popular is Long Beach Island, which is sort of middle way down. I have a lot of friends that always go there. A lot of people rent houses there in the summer, and I've actually never been there, which is horrible, but it's on my list. But it's supposed to be beautiful. And also I should mention that New Jersey has 18 lighthouses. So all up and down the coast are lighthouses. 11 of them are open for people to check out. And the one at the top of the shore, Sandy Hook, which I just read this today, is the oldest operating lighthouse in the United States. Been running since 1764.
I did not know that.
Yeah, which is also the history of New Jersey is great because was like the third state to ratify the Constitution. It's very historical. Like we mentioned, Revolutionary War battles taking place. And another town that I like to mention, I'm from near here, it's just a great town. It's called Morristown. And it's famous for basically during the Revolutionary War because Washington and his troops, they spent 2 winters there. So they had like encampments in Morristown. So I think it has a national site there and museums and things. It was sort of, they call it the military capital of the American Revolution. But it has a town center with a town green, looks very historical, and lots of shops and bars and restaurants all around there. So, and there's hotels, and it's the county seat of that particular county. So it's also just another neat town to visit. So I think that's what's unique about New Jersey. You'd have to kind of just pick out a few towns and do some drives. It's a great place to take actually scenic drives, which the negative is you pretty much should have a car.
Right, sure.
There are trains. I mean, there is New Jersey Transit, and that's really good from going in and out from New York City, for sure. You can definitely, there's several lines. One goes right down to the shore. Some go right out west. They really do kind of fan out. But once you're in New Jersey, they only would take you back to New York. There's not a great system of getting around New Jersey, which is unfortunate, but the best thing would be to have a car and just be able to drive around, stay at a B&B, especially in the fall, take some fall foliage drives along the north and the west, really beautiful.
And ruling out the New Jersey Turnpike as the most scenic drive in the state, what would you recommend as a great place for a scenic drive?
There's a lot, and I would actually first tell people to like look online because I was just reading a bunch of them today on thejersey.com, the visitors website. There's a lot, and like I said, in the Northwest, kind of through these national parks. There's another road that I know just from growing up that is beautiful. It's actually called Route 206, and it drives through up in Morris County. It goes through Chester, which is known for antiques and galleries and also shops, and then it goes through these just lovely farm towns. There's an area called Peapack Gladstone. It's known for horse farming and horse training. So there's actually, I think there's some also surprisingly one of the larger horse states. It's also the third largest producer of cranberries. There's cranberry bogs in the south part of the state. So a lot of people don't realize that about New Jersey. We produce a lot of cranberries and blueberries.
I didn't realize that. I think of New England, obviously, for cranberries. Well, and I was trying to remember the name of the town. There's one of the towns that's just outside of the city. Is it Patterson, where they used to grow all of the roses for New York City that they would import into the city? Because obviously you had lots of florists in town, but they weren't growing them there.
Ah, I don't know that. That is interesting.
I think it's Patterson.
Patterson is also the city that one of the main famous things about it is has these waterfalls right in the middle of the city that are pretty high. I don't know also the statistics of that. I'd have to look it up. But they're supposed to be like pretty large. Another favorite town of mine is called Red Bank, and that's actually sort of near the shore. It's on the Navesink River. So it's sort of near Sandy Hook Lighthouse, sort of in that North Shore area. And it's also great Main Street shops and restaurants. And you have like a harbor. You have these mansions along the Navesink River. Actually, Bon Jovi has a mansion there, and I think Bruce Springsteen has a home there. Of course, Bruce Springsteen's from New Jersey. Both of them are from New Jersey.
I didn't think we would get through a New Jersey episode without talking about at least talking about the boss there. But
yeah. And Asbury Park on the shore, which has had a resurgence as well. It's famous for, he named one of his albums after. He's from near there. I don't actually think he's from Asbury Park. He's from a town right near there. And they still have homes, and I think they're near Red Bank. And so it's nice, actually, because they've seemed to be sort of hometown boys that stayed there. I mean, there's, of course, a lot of famous. Frank Sinatra is from Hoboken, which is another, actually, and that's the thing. If you're in New York, it's kind of hard to leave New York because there's so much to see there. But right across the river is Hoboken. And Hoboken is kind of a cute, almost feels like a neighborhood, like a small neighborhood of New York in a way. It's literally the town is 1 square mile. And a lot of people live there and commute into the city. Mm-hmm. So it definitely has like a young, maybe I would say yuppie vibe of sort of these post-college people in this square mile radius. But it's very pretty, lots of brick buildings, brick homes, has a beautiful view, obviously, of New York City. So it is a good reason to go there. And it has great restaurants. It's one of the big restaurant towns in New Jersey.
Is there a good time of year that you would recommend to go to New Jersey?
I think really spring, summer, and fall. I think fall is beautiful. It really is like a New England thing. If you can take a drive in mid to late October, depending on the year and the weather and the Farmer's Almanac and all that, it's it's beautiful. It really is. I mean, even just in my town where I grew up, you could just take a drive, and a lot of the roads went through woods. And again, people don't think of New Jersey like that, and that's what I think of, like curvy roads through woods with falling leaves. Very normal to me, and I still love it. Like very beautiful. In fact, the town I'm from is very hilly, and the town I'm from is actually called Randolph, so it's near Morristown, and just lots of hills and curves. Suddenly you'd be driving past the old mill. Like there's an old mill still in my town from 1700 something, and that was on a creek, and they would make some grain there. And most of New Jersey was, well, obviously we originally had Native Americans, hence some of our names like Lake Hopatcong and Lake Musconetcong, which all sound normal to me. But then we had European, a lot of Swedes and Dutch. New York, founded by the Dutch, and they were in New Jersey as well. So a lot of history there, a lot of neat sort of old, I think that's what I liked about it, just this old time feel, still have these old wooden homes from late 1700s, 1800s, which are really just still kept well and turned into summer museums some people live in still.
Anything that guidebooks recommend for me to see in New Jersey that you would say, no, that I would pass on?
That's tough for me because I don't even know if I've ever read a guidebook to New Jersey, but I think that's subjective because I think obviously things are touristy for a reason. They usually are beautiful or interesting. I'm sure the guidebooks say Atlantic City, right, and I think it's something to see, but I think it depends on your time. And if you're there to see fall foliage, then you're not going to go to Atlantic City. If you're there to see the stuff that I obviously try to promote because I like it, like the colonial towns and the beautiful scenery, I wouldn't even go to the shore if you're not there in the summer. I would spend time driving around, going to antique stores and going camping and canoeing and doing more outdoorsy things than you realize. But then again, I'm sure guidebooks have a whole chapter on shopping. I'm not a shopper, but New Jersey, kind of a shopper's mecca because we're known having tons of shopping malls for whatever reason.
Well, and we used to go over the border and shop in New Jersey because sales tax on clothes.
Sales tax, yeah, which is great. And I try to remember that when I spend a good amount of time there. So when I am there, I try to remember that. I think I kind of forgotten, but yeah, it was wonderful. And also, if you're driving, we do not pump our own gas in New Jersey.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yeah. And one of two states I know, yeah.
Yeah. What's the other one? Hawaii?
Oregon.
Oh, wow. And so when I went away to university, I was like, I have to get out now and be a regular citizen. It's strange to me now when I go return. It feels strange, almost like we're too
driving
good to
back
get
into
out.
the 50s, yeah.
Like it's
when you still pay less
snobby
than we do in California, so it's really terribly unfair. Is there a day that you've had that's the perfect New Jersey day?
I think it would be going to probably Lambertville and doing one of the bike rides. What I also like about it that I forgot to mention is that you ride along the canal and you can chart it out on a map, and then you get to the next town, or depending on how long you want to ride, where there's actually a bridge over the Delaware River, and then you're in Pennsylvania. And then you can ride back down on the Pennsylvania side. So you can do like a loop, which is nice because it's just always nice to see new things, and then stop and come back to Lambertville and have lunch at one of the cute restaurants. And even if you're staying there, great. If you're not, then the drives home from there are these farm old routes, these old roads that just drive through farms and old barns, and just, I don't know, to me it's almost like this quintessential East Coast rural feel that I really like.
Excellent. Food. Are there things that we should have in New Jersey that I don't know about?
Yeah, I would say the quintessential New Jersey food is diner.
Oh, sure. Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a food either, but definitely diners. There are 600 diners in New Jersey. I think it is the most diners of any state. We're known for our diners. Every town almost has a diner, so I can't even tell you the best diner because we all grew up going to random diners, and they're all quite similar. Huge menu. A lot of times it's Greek owned. So,
and when you say huge menu, we're talking about there's Greek food, there's Italian food, there's everything kind of food. Yeah, Greek owned. Yeah. I've never understood why that was, but that does seem to be the case.
I mean, they're good cooks, and I don't know, and it's just fun. It's not the best food in the world, but it's not the worst either. Like, it's pretty satisfying. There's some better than others, but it's usually pretty good, and it's great for breakfast. It's kind of like for breakfast, lots of breakfast items and omelets, but I love just an egg salad on rye, like some kind of, to me, that's sort of what I grew up eating, kind of these little lunch rye bread sandwiches. So diners, pizza, I have to say, New York's right there. New Jersey has a ton of Italian Americans. Our Italian food is very good in New Jersey. It's sort of that Southern Italian, lots of red sauce. Mm-hmm. And I think the pizza is great. In fact, some people argue that New Jersey pizza is better than New York pizza. I'm not even going to go there, especially since I live in Chicago right now. And I don't know if you watched The Daily Show, but Jon Stewart just had this whole debate with Chicago versus New York pizza, which was pretty funny.
I like them both, so I'm not going to choose a...
Yeah, and I don't. I like New Jersey pizza and New York pizza better than...
You fold your pizza and put salt on it.
But our pizza is very good. Italian food's very good. And also our state is one of the most populous, and we're also one of the most diverse, ethnically and religiously diverse. We're like second number of Jewish people in the country after New York, second number of Muslim people after Michigan. And then, of course, we have Italian immigrants and Middle Eastern and Indian. And so we have lots of great food. It's a little harder to find than, say, if you're in New York, just because there might be some random great Indian restaurant in a strip mall in New Jersey somewhere. So that just takes some research. But I think in some of these main towns like Princeton or Lambertville or Morristown or Hoboken, those are known as food towns. So there's lots of good choices there.
Excellent. Before I get to my final two questions, what else should we know before we go to New Jersey?
One thing I failed to mention is this area in the southern part called the Pine Barrens. Mm-hmm. It's famous partly because of the Jersey Devil, which is sort of this mythical creature we grew up learning about who's running around there. And, of course, our hockey team, the Jersey Devils.
Who do not run around in the Pine Barrens.
No, but that did make me think I should mention the sports teams. But the Pine Barrens are 1.1 million acres of forest. They encompass 22% of New Jersey's whole area. So hence, we are the Garden State. I used to read somewhere that we're 25% farms. Now I just saw this, that 22% of our land is the Pine Barrens, which is these pinelands, this whole area. And the area itself, in like 1978, it was called the first national reserve in the United States, the very first one. So in literally this whole area, it helps recharge this aquifer that's near there. They say that it's some of the purest water in the United States. And again, to me, it's like, this is New Jersey, the place that always gets a bad rap, is kind of dirty or whatever. And there's parts of it that are beautiful and have this pure water. And this 22% of the whole state is this forest. Now there's towns throughout there and things like that, but most of it's preserved. So they can't do certain things there, industry or anything like that. So it's pretty amazing.
Excellent.
Oh, and in fact, the Super Bowl next year in February 2014 is in New Jersey, is in the Meadowlands.
Excellent. Last two questions. You really know you're home in New Jersey when what?
For me, it's kind of what I mentioned, it's almost, to me, it's the topography, like to me. And when I left home, that was what I oddly missed the most. I missed the trees and I missed the rolling hills.
And the folding pizza.
Yeah, and the folding pizza. But I remember that I missed these country roads, these hilly, curvy roads through woods. That is my New Jersey.
Interesting. Excellent. And if you had to summarize New Jersey in just 3 words, which 3 words would you use?
Beautiful. Diverse.
Okay.
Neighborly.
Okay.
I think the people there are very friendly. There's a kind of like New York, a direct openness. To some, it's kind of comes across gruff, but people are very open and friendly and will talk to you. And I do like that.
Excellent. And we should mention, you mentioned briefly sports teams, but half the sport teams that have the name New York really are in New Jersey anyway. Let's face it. If you're at the Meadowlands, you are not in New York. So.
The Jets, the Giants, the Red Bulls, New York Red Bulls, they're in New Jersey. Of course, our New Jersey Devils are in New Jersey. But yeah, we have both big football teams. And really, we have the Statue of Liberty.
Really?
So there's debates of this, but technically, and I think I just read recently the final say, but technically it's in New Jersey waters.
So, I did not know that.
Yeah. You look
I
that
suspect
up.
We're going to get some pushback on that one.
But no, here's the thing I think this was the finalization. Like it's actually, Liberty Island are in New Jersey waters. You can actually get there from a ferry in New Jersey. So what they finally agreed upon after I think some sort of years of battling was that the island itself belongs to New Jersey, but the statue belongs to New York. So look that up. I'm pretty sure that's what I read recently. So
excellent.
Yeah, but she's technically in New Jersey, and I think her back is probably to New Jersey because she's facing the harbor to welcome our huddled masses.
Excellent. And Lisa, where can people read more about your travels?
My travels they can read at llworldtour.com. And it would be remiss to not mention I actually have a New Jersey blog, which is sort of this little blog project, not as big as my main LL World Tour, but I have a site called ilovenewjersey.co.
Excellent. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I hope to flesh that out more one day. It's got just little town stories, and you'll see, obviously, some of my favorite towns that I mentioned are on there as well.
Excellent. Well, Lisa, thanks so much for coming back to New Jersey and sticking up for New Jersey.
Yeah, my pleasure. Proud of it. Very proud of it.
It has come to my attention that in 2 weeks, we're going to have the 400th episode of The Amateur Traveler. I am a little surprised and quite pleased. I don't have any particular plans for doing anything to celebrate it, but I thought I would mention it. Speaking of milestones, I heard from Mary, and Mary was one of the people who joined us on the Amateur Traveler photography tour of Egypt. Again, amazing timing on that trip. And Mary, with a trip to Japan in October, reached her 100th country visited. Congratulations, you're way ahead of me. I think I'm actually only at 28 countries, but I'm hoping to speed up that pace a bit. With that, we're going to end this episode of The Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, feel free to send an email to host@amateurtraveler.com or leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. Join us in the Facebook community, facebook.com/amateurtraveler, or follow me on Twitter at Chris2X. And as always, thanks so much for listening.